Welcome to Into the Desert, where we'll be having conversations about relevant issues with respect and without finger pointing. I'm Larissa Munns.
I'm Elgin Hushbeck. I'm the author of 11 books, including Seeking Truth and Preserving Democracy.
And if you'd like to join the conversation, please fill out your comments below, but remember to keep it respectful. We would like to foster conversation and not division. So another thing you tend to bring up when you talk about arguments is this concept of freedom, and that freedom is the ultimate goal of any democracy. Why is that? Why is freedom the best thing? Wouldn't we want to live in a society where everything is equal and fair?
Well, that's an extremely large question. It's one of these problems you have with a lot of what happens in any form of government, which is the juggling of concerns. You have the concern for freedom and you have the concern for equality. And you really can't have both. The more you get of one, the less you will have of the other. That's nothing revolutionary. It's been recognized for a very long time. And it's not to say that if you want freedom, then you don't want equality. It's just that when push comes to shove, something's got to give. And so do you tilt towards the sides of freedom, or do you tilt towards equality? So that's one of the ongoing, never-ending struggles in any sort of government, particularly a democratic government. And how do you solve that? I think it goes down to freedom, simply because you must be free to, if nothing else, cast a vote in a democratic system. You must be free to exercise your will to do what you want to do. And that will lead to some inequality. There should definitely be some checks and balances as to how far that can go. You don't want to completely abandon equality for the sake of freedom, and you don't want to abandon freedom for the sake of equality. But where do you draw that line? Exactly how, on an individual issue, where do they meet when you really can't have both?
Well, and I think that's really a great question because, I mean, if you have too much freedom, we're really kind of talking anarchy, right? Where you
Yes.
just get to do whatever you want, and well, there's lawlessness and people stepping on each other, and that wouldn't be good. I mean, there's plenty of horror films that they've made about anarchy. But on the other side, fairness sounds wonderful. I mean, isn't it okay to want to give up freedom so that everything is fair, that everybody has a fair share of everything? We all have food and we all have shelter and homes and can afford to pay our bills every single month. I mean, isn't that the whole point of utopia? Why am I choosing freedom over fairness and equality?
Well, that comes down to the key and fundamental difference. And you do want to have freedom. You don't, and we do all give up freedom. I mean, for example, we have surrendered the freedom to kill each other because we've decided murder is not a good thing to have in a society. We've surrendered the freedom to choose which side of the road we're going to drive on because, for safety concerns, we've decided it's probably better if we restrict that choice and make sure everyone drives on the correct side of the road. So we do give up freedom in a government. Anytime you have a group of people come together and have some sort of rule, either you're going to have some sort of dictatorship, or you're going to have something's going to have to be given up, because you have to come together and you have to work together, and you will have to share in the decision-making process. And guess what? Not everyone's going to make the same choice. And so when there's a difference, how do you work that out? The problem with equality is a unattainable goal. We all know freedom has to be given up, and we all surrender freedom. However, if you're not voluntarily surrendering some equality for the sake of freedom, then equality will never be reached. There'll always be some inequality in any society. Not everybody can be a star player on a sports team. Not everybody will. If you go into a casino, right? Some people will refuse to go in because they don't want to lose their money. Some people will go into a casino and they'll lose their money. some people will go into the casino and a small number of them will win. Well, guess what? That's going to leave inequality. As people will make different decisions, you will end up with different outcomes because not all decisions will have the same value. Some are good decisions, some are bad decisions. So if you strive for perfect equality, the only way to achieve perfect equality is to restrict people's freedom and to take that away from them. But if you take freedom away from people, do you really have people left? I mean, we just all become automatons and at the mercy of the state where we can only do what the state allows us to do? That doesn't sound very appetizing either. So again, it comes down to a trade-off and a balance, and where do you exactly draw those lines?
Yeah, but it makes it really hard when you think about, some football player who barely graduated high school or college and was kind of shuffled through because they're such a great football player and now they're making millions and millions of dollars a year. And you have the single mom who's struggling to feed her kids because her husband died in a war or something, or as a police officer and died, and she's struggling just to feed her kids and work and be there. And where's the inequality in that? I mean, how can we reconcile, well, why does the football player get all the money where this poor single mom who's struggling doesn't?
Well, the football player, first off, let's start with that one. Football player gets a lot of money because they're part of a team, and that team brings a great deal of pleasure to a great deal of people. And those people are willing to pay for that privilege of watching that team. And so because of that, the joy and pleasure that they're giving to these people is what they're getting paid for. You can say, yeah, they're getting paid to play a game, but they're getting played because people want to watch that game. I can guarantee you, if you put me and some of my friends out on a football field and say, well, we're going to play football, can you pay us $1 million? Nobody's going to pay me any money to watch me play football. Maybe at a comedy show, but other than that, they're not going to do it. So that's why the football player is getting, or the basketball player, or baseball player, or whatever. That's why they're getting paid what they're getting paid. And you see that in the popular sports with the large followings, the players get paid a lot of money. In the lesser sports with much less money, they don't get paid as much, but they get paid. Now, then you have the issue about the mother who, husband was killed in war and a police officer or whatever. Those people should be taken care of. And I think that's something that we should, as a society, decide that we want to take care of those people because they sacrificed a lot for the society. And you see that with a lot of charities out there who raise money for that. Tunnels to Towers, who raised money for homes for veterans who are injured and disabled. And we should provide for them. We should provide pensions for them. It really comes down to a matter of that. Now, should they get paid millions of dollars? That's a decision a society has to make. And if they get paid $1 million, where's that $1 million going to come from? And who's going to pay for it? And, what's that going to take away from the people who have to pay for that? Well, these are all trade-offs. And that's what government does, is government makes trade-offs. And when it works well, it's making trade-offs in the best interests of the people. When it doesn't work well, it's making trade-offs in the best interests of the politicians or their special interest groups or whatever. But that's the definition of a good versus a bad government.
Thank you for listening to Into the Desert, exploring the wilderness of thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe and put your comments below. Remember, be civil. We want to foster discussion and not division.